Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man, they say, who murdered 3. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
Yeah, I know I looked unbelievably ridiculous mouthing that, but man, that song is so catchy, right? I mean, I've been cleaning up that movie theater for the last week now. No, week and a half. Almost 2 weeks. And it's like, every time during the end credits, I cannot get that song out of my head. Because I'll be sweeping on popcorn. Alright, aside from that, you don't want to hear about that. You want to hear about what I think. Not necessarily, because a lot of you guys don't watch my show. You want to hear about Mockingjay Part 1. And you probably don't care what I think about it, because it's been out for 2 weeks, and I think mostly everybody has already seen it by now. I saw it last weekend, but I've been out of town. I've been really busy, because, you know, it's December. We have a lot of stuff going on, us college students. I couldn't find time to do this, but I'm going to do it right now, because I have a little bit of time. So, anyway, hi guys. I'm AB. Welcome to a new episode of AB in the Films. Season 4 of AB in the Films starts right now with Mockingjay Part 1, the third Hunger Games installment. Okay, so for those of you who have watched the show, all 2 of you who watch it, I really liked Catching Fire. I did, and I liked the first Hunger Games. I put it as one of the best films of 2012. And Catching Fire is one of the best of 2013, and this will probably go in the 2014 category when we get to Oscar night in a couple months. But we'll save that for March, whenever that happens. So, and I'm really getting sidetracked here. So anyway, I really liked it. I liked this movie. Well, let me put it this way. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, 'cause now, here's the thing. I'm going to base this off of Harry Potter, because, let's be honest, Harry Potter practically invented splitting the last book in a book series into 2 movies. It's a marketing scheme, okay, but it is kind of interesting, because you wonder how they're going to balance it all out from 1 book into 2 movies. Much like how Peter Jackson is doing it with The Hobbit. He's making 3 movies out of 1 book, folks. So now we have Mockingjay Part 1, and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. And I'll tell you why, because a lot of you guys who really like this movie are probably wondering, what the hell, why? Here's the thing. Again, going back to Harry Potter, it's a build-up movie. It's build-up for the big action stuff. The action we're going to get in Part 2, obviously. So this is a lot of build-up. Mostly what this is, Part 1, is now that Plutarch, Heavensby, and Haymitch, they have Katniss now for the rebellion, and they're on their way to District 13, and Peeta got left behind and now the capital has Peeta. So basically what this movie is, it's in a nutshell, it's a propaganda movie. I mean, it's basically District 13, which is the rebellion, well, not just District 13, but the rebellion in general, to stand up to the Capitol. They're using Katniss as the symbol of the Mockingjay, and they need her to be, to make all these propaganda promos. I forget what the term is that they have for it, against the Capitol. Meanwhile, the Capitol is using Peeta to use him as propaganda to go against the rebellion. Alright, pretty interesting. Again, I haven't read the books. I didn't really know where this was going to go. I had somewhat of an idea of where this was going to go. But I really liked it. And Jennifer Lawrence, once again, I mean, like, I'm not going to say, like, she's, like, the greatest actress of our time. Like, a lot of people love her. I think she's okay. I saw Silver Linings Playbook. She was good. American Hustle, okay. I think she can act. It's better than nothing. Josh Hutcherson, great. Really good actor. Still pretty good in this. 1,000 more times interested in him and Katniss than Katniss and Gale. I mean, I'm sure Gale's a nice character and everything, but he's so bland and so forgettable. There's just nothing, okay, I take it back. He's interesting in this movie, okay, because in the previous movies, he really wasn't given much to do. Like, if you really look at his character, all he did throughout the majority of these movies was watch how Katniss goes through these obstacles while she's in the arena, in the games. That's it. Here, because the games aren't happening right now, like a whole war is basically on the surface of happening. They give Gale a little bit more things to do while he's in District 13. So I like that. I really like that they gave him something to do, actually. But again, he's still the stereotypical, guy who's going to be here because he's known Katniss since they were kids. Okay, but I'm sorry, he's just done nothing for... That character just does nothing for me. Every time he's on screen, I'm just saying, can we just cut back to Peeta, please? I'm more interested in him, probably because we know more about him, because the camera's... the movie spends most of the time on him and Katniss, but aside from that, really loved Donald Sutherland in these movies. I mean, you just love to hate this guy. President Snow, I'm so interested in how Part 2 is going to come along and how this is all going to go down. I really am curious. I haven't read the book. Obviously, I already said I haven't read the books. But here's the reason why I liked it and didn't love it. And I'll tell you why. This is obviously being split into two movies for a marketing reason. Because Harry Potter did it. Because... What was that other series that came out between Harry Potter and this movie? Had something to do with vampires? I forget. It was incredibly bland. I don't even remember it anymore. I have no idea. Big blockage. So anyway, this franchise is being... Mockingjay is being split into two movies for a marketing reason, obviously. But here's the thing. You could easily tell this entire story of Mockingjay in one movie. I really think you can. I mean, even with Deathly Hallows, I mean, you could have made that one really long movie, but even though they did do a good job of splitting it into two parts, and I really can't judge this now because Part 2 has yet to be released of Mockingjay, but here's the thing. Most of what happens in Part 1 is really panned out. I mean, and this is just me talking, I felt it was really kind of panned out. Good and entertaining and interesting, but panned out. Everything that happens in Part 1... you could have easily summed up. If Mockingjay, the whole book, was one movie, 1 2.5-hour movie, you could have summed up the entire first part in an hour. And leave the other hour and a half for whatever Part 2 is going to be. You could have done that. You really could have. But let's look at Part 1 for what it is on its own. The acting is still really good. Really unbelievable. And I just want to say something about Philip Seymour Hoffman for a minute here. Every time I see this guy on screen, I just get so upset that he went way too soon, man. Because his acting is still top notch. He's still he was the kind of actor that could take any role, even if it was written horribly, if it was written bland and forgettable, he could turn that into something and make it memorable. Okay, like the first movie I ever saw him in was Along Came Polly, and that's a terrible movie. Okay, I'll admit it's a bad movie. I like it. It's one of my guilty pleasures. I know it's a bad movie, but I like him as this sort of sidekick to Ben Stiller, who plays a washed-up actor, and I thought he was actually pretty funny in that movie. And then a year later, he did Capote, and then he got the Oscar for that, and he was great in that movie. He's done a lot of good movies. Pirate Radio, love that movie. I love that. That's a great movie. He's done a couple other ones. I just can't think. Even Son of a Woman. He had a small cameo in that, but he was good. So yeah, every time he was on screen, I was always saying to myself, and he's in this movie a lot. I was actually amazed at how much he filmed a lot, before he passed away, because I think he died in February, and I remember reading that at the time of his death, he finished filming Part 1. He was in the middle of shooting Part 2, and he died. I think he had 1 week left of shooting, and he had one scene at the end of Part 2 that he didn't film. And there's a rumor going on that they're gonna CG him into the movie, and you know what? Don't buy that, because that's a bunch of bullshit. It really is. Like, even the director, Francis Lawrence, I think his name is. I could be wrong. I think that's the director's name. He actually said in a statement that instead what they're going to do is, because they're not going to CGI him, that's wrong. That's bullshit to fake a performance. That is complete bullshit. They decided for that one big ending scene at the end of part 2, they're going to give his dialogue to other characters to help fill in the story. And that's a reasonable thing to do. That's good. That's a good explanation. But he is in part 2. He's in most of part 2. So that's good. So we still have another Philip Seymour Hoffman movie coming out. So yeah, the acting in part 1, really, really good. The story, I'm still invested in it. It's still pretty intense. Not as intense as Catching Fire was, as and the first Hunger Games, but still pretty interesting. I still want the Capitol to burn like pigs in hell every time. Every time you see them come on with their pistols and shooting away innocent people, oh God, you just want part 2 to happen already in Mockingjay. You just want it to end. And so yeah, so yeah, the story, I'm still invested into it. I felt that the movie was, well, I don't want to say long. I mean, it's supposed to be long. These movies are kind of long, but nevertheless, it was enjoyable. It's my least favorite, probably because there's not a lot of action happening, and I really like where this franchise is going. Because when I saw the first one, I literally had no idea where it was going, and when I saw Catching Fire, that really got my attention. And now we have this one, and I'm really excited to see what the big ending is going to be. Now, I haven't read the book. Third time I've said that in this review. I recently spoke to a friend of mine. You might remember him from the Quentin Tarantino episode, Devin Kiesler. I spoke to him, and he told me that he hadn't seen this yet, but he did read the book, and he told me he read Mockingjay in like maybe 2 hours. He couldn't put it down. And he hadn't seen this movie yet, and he asked me, he said, Andrew, where does it end? Where does part 1 end? And I told him where it ended. And he said, okay. And he asked me, he said, did you read the book? I said, no. And he said, okay, part 2 is going to be awesome. There's going to be huge action going down. Some characters are going to die, and he didn't tell me who it was. I kind of have an idea of who it is, but I could be wrong. He told me that he didn't give too much away, but he basically told me what is going to happen in a way, and I thought to myself, that is unbelievably clever. So to all of you out there who know the ending to this story, that's a pretty freaking genius idea. That's a huge twist. You know, what happens towards the end. And I won't give anything away, because I know, like, the big ending and everything. Like, not the aftermath, but what they do when they finally get to the Capitol and what happens. So that is genius right there. That's a really genius thing. So I'm curious as to see what's going to happen. But yeah, you know, Mockingjay Part 1, I thought it was great. I thought the acting is still good. I really like these characters, and I can't wait to see where it goes next year, because we have to wait till November 20th of next year to see how this all concludes. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and this is AB, signing off. Later.